Hi everyone, Hungry Reader here. Now, you know me, one of my pet causes is literacy, especially child literacy. But why is literacy so important? Never mind the whole, reading laws and instructions and everything. One of the most important reasons to learn to read is so you can learn to love to read. Why? Because people who love to read learn to write. It's very crucial to kids that we get them started loving writing. Or where is all of our reading material going to come from? Every writer gets started with something that they would never dare to show anyone in their lives. Sometimes it's terrible fan fiction. Sometimes it's just terrible fiction, period. But then there are others who can't wait to show it off. That's what I'm featuring this month. May, or what's left of May, is By Kids, For Kids. The premier journal of literature by children is Stone Soup, still available on better bookshelves. Stone Soup has been published since 1971. Since then, it's evolved from a black and white pamphlet to a full-color magazine showcasing the very best that children have to author. It features stories by children, poetry by children, book reviews by children, and even illustrations by children, some of which are truly impressive. But one thing that hasn't changed since 1971, it's still published in Santa Cruz, California. And something else very important was first published in Santa Cruz, California. Me! Even today, Santa Cruz is one of the surviving centers of hippie culture for California, so you can imagine what it was like in 1980. Those back-to-the-earth crunchy granola folks couldn't get enough of children's unique brand of literacy. This issue of Stone Soup is from the year 2006. We won't be discussing this one. We're going to look at the ones from 1973 and 1974. The youngest contributor to the May-June issue of 2006 is 10 years old. The youngest contributor to the November 1974 issue is 3.5. Kelly Soup! Kelly was walking through the woods, and then he came to a house, and then he thought it was a restaurant, and then he went inside, and there was an old woman cooking soup, and then he ate the soup all gone, and then he wanted to go back to the jungle to see the bears, the lions, and the gorillas, and then there was the big ugly monster with fiercest eyes and a long nose. It was the giant, and guess what? The giant stepped on the soup man, and you know what? He fell in the ocean, got wet, and the crocodiles ate him up. Then he got out of the stomach and ran through the forest and came to swings and a slide. It was a park. And then he ran through another house and came to his own house. Then he slept and slept and slept and slept and slept and slept, and then there was a great roar. It was the giant who stepped on him with a bear and a lion, and they started to eat him. He was so clever, he decided to watch out for stuff like that. And that's the end. So remember, kids, if a lion starts eating you, be clever and watch out for stuff like that. The story of Kelly Soup is actually pretty advanced for a 3.5-year-old, especially when we compare it to some of the work by some older children. The Nectarine in a bathing suit. One day, a nectarine didn't have anything to do. She just sat in her chair by the window. Then all of a sudden she had an idea. "Why don't I go to the beach?" she yelled. There was one problem. She didn't have a bathing suit. She got her purse and went to the store. When she got to the store, there were some pink bathing suits, some blue bathing suits. There were so many. There was one big size right at the end that fit her. It was pink. The nectarine brought it home and put it on. She got her towel and she went down to the beach. She found a nice spot in the sun on the sand. The nectarine went in the water. She dried off and laid down on her towel. When she was hot, she went back in the water. She came out and took her towel and went home. She changed back into her regular clothes, she made her dinner, then she went to bed. That's an example of what my mother, the teacher, calls a bed-to-bed story. When kids are first getting started with the whole writing stories thing, they often don't realize that you don't have to start at the very beginning of somebody's day and end at the very end of somebody's day. There's even a song in this one. Let's try singing it. La 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 la, lo 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 lo. Le 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 le, lu 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 lu, lat lat lat, lat lat lat, let let. That was by a 10-year-old. Here's an exciting story. The Abominable Snowman. The Abominable Snowman is going to get my friend Richard. He's got Richard. He's going to eat him. Then the Abominable Snowman turned Frosty to ice. I'm guessing he means Frosty the Snowman, but I don't know. Then he got me. He wanted to eat me. He thought I would be delicious with ketchup. Then he melted because spring was coming. Oh, this is Hugo the Abominable Snowman, the one who wants to pet you and keep you and call you George. When he melted, Richard got out. I was in the water. The other issue I have from November 1975 is significantly shorter and a little lighter on content. One of my favorite parts of it is this long, sort of lyrical story that almost seems like it could be a picture book called The Elephant Stew. Then there's another story by the same 5-year-old that seems to draw on some more personal experiences. See what you think. Moon Story and Sun Story. Once upon a time, the moon went to Sunday school. He spilled juice on Father Cater. He took me to the church, but he screamed and I took him out of the church. I took him to the Sunday school, but he spilled juice. The teacher said, "No moons allowed." The children said, "Ha ha ha!" Father Cater said, "Get that moon out of here." The moon said, "I want to go back to Sunday school or church." He cried and cried. He didn't get the bread and the wine because he didn't hold out his hands. He just held out his tip, the point that stands out, halfway, like a circle. Father Cater said, "You can't get in here. Any people that has hands can hold out their hands and get bread and wine." Then the moon ate up all the bread. Then the sun went to Sunday school. Monday is for the moon and Sunday is for the sun. And he didn't shout like the moon, and he didn't eat all the bread, and he didn't go behind that railing. But everybody in church thought he was a bad son because everyone who didn't know him, because his name was Salmon, Salmon the sun. Because the sun liked the words that started with the letter S, and the moon liked the words that started with the grumpy letter M. Let's get up very, 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 very early and see the sun dance! I think my favorite part is the part about the sun didn't go behind that railing. You know, this kid must have gotten scolded for going behind a railing at some point. I love these magazines. I read them over and over again. But there's one part of this one in particular that I'm kind of holding back because it's so dear to me. I wanted to present it in its most fulsome state possible. So hopefully you'll be able to see it soon. Keep an eye out for The Medieval Play.